All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. The race for Indiana's next governor taking shape. Senator Mike Braun on Wednesday filed the official paperwork to begin a campaign for governor in 2024. News 8 government reporter Garrett Berquist lays out where this puts the field, hoping to replace Republican Eric Holcomb.
Braun's filing makes a run for governor in 2024 all but certain. Republican insiders say this doesn't clear the bench for 2024, but Braun would be the clear favorite. Insiders wondered for months if Braun would leave Washington to run for governor. I asked Braun about it in an interview for All Indiana Politics the day after the 2022 election. You're up for election in 2 years, and that same election we will have an open governor seat because Governor Eric Holcomb will be term limited. What are your plans for 24?
So I've been asked to consider that shortly after I got elected senator. I've got to make that decision because it's either or. All I can tell you is I will declare what I'm going to do publicly here very soon.
Do you have a rough timeline for that?
I'd say likely by December 1st, so right around the corner.
Sure enough, the day before that deadline, this document appeared on the Secretary of State's website. It means Braun now has a formal gubernatorial campaign committee. Braun has not made himself available or made any public comment since the document was filed. When News 8 asked about the filing, his chief of staff, Josh Kelly, said, Mike Braun has filed his paperwork to run for governor and will be making an official announcement of his candidacy very soon.
Well, I think that everyone knew he was going to run. The question was when the timing was going to be. Most people were thinking that it was going to be before Christmas, that he wasn't going to wait till the start of the new year, just due to the fact that legislative session is coming up upon us. And so I think that this is probably the best time for him to do that before people start focusing on holidays and then session.
Fort Wayne businessman and former Mike Pence aide Eric Doden announced his candidacy on the Republican ticket a year ago. His campaign currently has about $2.3 million in its coffers. Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch has repeatedly teased a run for governor. Her campaign has $2.5 million on hand. Insiders say Attorney General Todd Rokita could run as well. There's even a group trying to draft former Governor Mitch Daniels. He's stepping down after 10 years as president of Purdue University.
Would love, to see him participate again. We know he loves Indiana, and we, and he's got big ideas. And, sometimes timing is everything.
Though Daniels has denied any interest in running for his old job.
I've never been much of a planner. I'm not planning now.
Democrats say Braun's filing doesn't surprise them either.
Well, I think it shows that Mike Braun doesn't really like the Senate, having just been elected in 2018 and is looking to make a switch. But I think that he has been a rather ineffective senator, somebody who's really struggled to find his footing. And so I'm not sure he's going to find anything different in his run for governor with his sort of checkered record and his checkered background over the last few years in public life.
On the Democratic side, former Superintendent of Public Education Jennifer McCormick has hinted at a possible run. Her campaign committee is still active, but is not geared toward any particular office. She has about $40,000 available. And Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott, who ran unsuccessfully against Senator Todd Young this year, is reportedly considering a run as well. As a reminder, Wednesday's filing lays the groundwork for a gubernatorial campaign, but it does not make it official. The earliest Braun would be able to file the actual candidate paperwork would be January 24th. At the State House, Garrett Bergquist, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
Meanwhile, Indiana will have a new chief financial officer next month. Daniel Elliott was elected state treasurer. He will take over for fellow Republican Kelly Mitchell, who is term limited. Garrett recently spoke with him.
Let's welcome in State Treasurer-elect Daniel Elliott. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So how's the transition going? Anything particularly surprising or interesting come up so far?
Well, the only thing surprising is how much work is involved. It's there's a lot of people to meet. The treasurer's office, part of the reason I was interested in it is it's very vast. There's a lot of different parts of state government that it touches. So just having this opportunity to meet everybody, talk to everyone, and get all this information, there's a lot of work, but at the same time, I cannot lie, I'm having way too much fun for my own good.
Early this year, the state of Indiana divested more than $100 million worth of Russia-backed securities that were tied to the public retirement system. As state treasurer, you will serve on the public retirement system board. Going forward, what should the state do to avoid getting into this situation in the first place, potentially with a future foreign country?
One of the things that we are doing as a state is we have a very broad investment strategy, very diverse. Because of that, even though it seems like a large number of the $45 billion or so, it was 0.5% hit. And so I think being diverse is important. Now, when we talk about specific bad actors like Iran, like Russia, that's where we have to look as a state and say, hey, if this country doesn't align with the Hoosier values, then we probably need to be wary and stay away from countries like Iran, countries like Russia, because they do create problems for the stability in the market. They also just don't reflect their values.
You've spoken of the need to grow rural Indiana. Can you give us some examples of some of the ideas you have? What about the role of the Indiana Bond Bank or the Finance Authority, for example?
I'm glad you brought that up. When we look at the growth of Indiana, we see a lot of growth happening in the donut counties. That's natural, and around the urban areas. But we really need to be looking at how we can help grow our rural areas. And the Indiana Bond Bank is a great tool for that. That's actually one of the key reasons I ran for this office. I want to see the bond bank be a stronger tool for local government finance. And I think that just putting a strong emphasis on that, because I also come from local government, going out there and talking to the rural communities and saying, hey, what creative ways do you have of helping grow your community?
Cybersecurity played a big role in your campaign. Now that you've had a chance to get into the transition, what are some specific areas on that front you'd like to address?
So a couple of the ideas that I have, for one, is helping create some standards for local communities. When you go to let's go again, talk about rural Indiana, you're going to see a theme here. I really am focused on rural Indiana. When you see a county like Posey County, their needs are very different than a very large county like Hamilton County, but they still have the need. So helping them create some standards, helping them understand, here's what you need to be doing as a community. That's important, because a lot of these communities want to do things to protect their own communities. They're just not sure what are the right ways. So creating some industry-wide standards, that's important. Second, going back to the bond bank, creating a finance mechanism, because of course a lot of our communities know, hey, we need to do this, but how do we do this when we also are struggling to figure out how to pay for bridges and roads? So creating a finance mechanism also is a real important part of that.
Some state lawmakers are pushing for more action on affordable housing, and even House Speaker Todd Houston signaled that there might be some work on that in this upcoming legislative session. You will be the vice chair of the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. Mm-hmm. What are some things you'd like to push for on that front?
We need to give the local governments the tools to figure out what works for them. We don't want to dictate. And I'm not a fan of saying, here's what you must do. And we see that happen sometimes. But we do need to educate and really make sure that local governments realize the need. If I look in the community that I live in Morgan County, there's just this huge need for housing. And we've been working hard at it. We've been developing that housing. But what we really need to look at, and I think this is the key, infrastructure. Because if you want to make housing affordable, you have to have the infrastructure in place. You have to have, it may not be sexy, but sewer, roads, these things have to be in place. And I think this is where the state can really help local governments, because if we can help them put in that infrastructure, then they can actually say, okay, now we can invest more in affordable housing.
State Treasurer-elect Daniel Elliott, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, coming up, we break down the week's top headlines with Indiana's best political team. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics, as we welcome back two members of Indiana's best political team, Democrat Drew Anderson and Republican Mario Mussolmani. Gentlemen, good to see you. It was the worst kept secret in all of Indiana politics, but now we can finally talk about it. Senator Mike Braun looking to make a run for governor. Drew, we'll start with you this week. Your thoughts, sir?
I mean, the so-called businessman voted against every economic opportunity for Indiana the last couple of years. So Democrats, we're going to have some fun with this. Senator Braun has proven to be nothing but a partisan hack who bought his way into his seat. And at the end of the day, he has some pretty horrible flubs, like calling for the dismantling of nationwide interracial marriage and also inciting an insurrection to kind of talk about too. So this guy has a lot of baggage, and Democrats are ready to talk about his record across the state.
Mario, strong words from Drew. Your thoughts?
You know, I think that Mike Braun has been a successful businessman. He's going to talk about how his business acumen is going to be helpful and beneficial for Indiana. I think that he is better as a governor and has the qualities and, attributes that will make him resonate with a lot of Hoosiers in the state of Indiana, from being a successful small business owner to now trying to be an executive for the state of Indiana.
Can I interject there, Phil?
Go ahead.
I think at the end of the day, he's going to talk about being a businessman and being successful, but he may have been successful as his business, but he voted against broadband expansion. He voted against job creation. He voted against making sure to build and set Indiana up for the 21st century for the rest of it. And he all said no to those investments from D.C. So he may talk about him being this like little folksy small business owner, but the business owner went to Washington. And in Washington, he said no to helping other businesses thrive. And that's not a good businessman.
Well, and to that point, go ahead.
I completely disagree with that, Drew. I think that, as a businessman, he makes sure that when he's voting for bills, he makes sure that those bills are properly funded and actually have an impact on our economy. He voted against Build Back Better. Well, one of the reasons is because he knew that it's going to cause hyperinflation. Even Larry Summers, one of Obama's guys, said, hey, this is going to cause hyperinflation. Democrats still shoved it through. Guess what it did? It caused hyperinflation, and now we're dealing with the ramifications of that. And so
actually, inflation is going down, Mario.
Braun is going to come in with some fresh ideas. I think that the people in Indiana are going to have an opportunity to look at him and vet him. They're also going to get an opportunity to vet a number of other Republican candidates in the primary. Suzanne Crouch, my understanding, is going to be making an announcement fairly soon also. You have Eric Doden that's entered this ring. And I think that there might be still one or two other individuals that decide to throw their hat in the Republican primary.
Well, we're talking about Mike Braun, and Mike Braun literally has more baggage than I've seen for a U.S. Senator who wants now. He literally thinks that he deserves to be CEO after inciting an insurrection against our country and calling for dismantlement of allowing an interracial couples to get married.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. Quickly, though, Drew, since he brought up the rest of the field, your thoughts on them?
I think at the end of the day, it's been 20 years of Republican control. And as Mitch Daniels said not too long ago, every 15, 16 years, it's time to weed the garden, and Democrats are ready to take that messech across the state.
Any thoughts on when we're going to hear from a governor, a Democratic candidate for governor?
All I've got to tell people is look at 2003 and before. When Democrats controlled the House, they also controlled the governor's office. We had many unfunded pensions. We couldn't pay our own budget. And that's the reason that Republicans have had control of Indiana for such a long period of time.
Well, let's actually
Hoosiers.
Drew, less than a minute. Go ahead, respond.
Democrats don't have a message, and I don't think they have a messenger to articulate that.
Okay, let Drew respond. Go ahead.
Well, actually, let's talk about that, Mario, because at the end of the day, Republicans took over, sure, but what's happened since Republicans have taken over is that we have the worst quality of life in our state. Our workforce is failing. Our education system is failing. Hoosiers' lives and Hoosiers' future has gotten worse under Republican control.
Might work
and at
for
the
your
end of the day,
Democrat,
that's the message. And if you can let me,
but they're not going to.
We can't hear you guys if you guys talk over each other.
So Hoosier viewers know that's not true, because that's why not only did Todd Young win, but we won statewide on a number of races, just due to the fact
Drew,
that
we'll give you the final 30 seconds in this segment. Go ahead.
This county and this state extremely well. And they understand that Republicans are fiscally conservative. They received a refund check.
Mario, let Drew respond real quick.
Well, Mario actually just endorsed socialism because Republicans hated that we gave checks, but they gave checks. But going to answering your question, Phil, at the end of the day, whether it's someone like Jennifer McCormick, someone like Tom McDermott, or even someone we don't know of yet in the Democratic Party, we have a message, and the message is that 20 years of control by one party is way too long, because Indiana is going in the tank because of this extremism across the state.
Gentlemen, we got to go to break. We'll have more conversations on the other side. We'll be right back.
Love it.
And welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome back Democrat Drew Anderson and Republican Mario Massolmani. As we mentioned on the other side of the break, that Republican Senator Mike Braun potentially running for governor here, so that will leave an opening in the Senate. Mario, we'll go to you. Who might take his place? Who might run?
I think there's a whole host of people looking to run for that seat. On the Republican side, you have Congresswoman Victoria Sparks. I've also heard from Congressman Jim Banks. He's looking into this. Todd Rokita is another individual that's talked about it. Trey Hollingsworth is somebody that's interested in running for Senate if he decides not to run for governor. And then finally, there have been people telling me that Mitch Daniels is interested in potentially making a run for Senate instead of governor. So we have at least those big names. There's other individuals. I know business owners that are looking at potentially getting in the field on the Republican side. It's an exciting time to be a Republican, especially in 2024, because we're going to have a contested Republican primary for governor, Senate, and as Congressional woman Victoria Sparks and Congressman Jim Banks potentially run for this seat, then there are going to be many openings for those congressional seats also, which I think a couple of state senators and state representatives are vying for both those congressional seats.
Drew, what about on the Democratic side?
I think at the end of the day, don't count out someone like Christina Hale. Don't count out someone like even Tom McDermott if he chooses not to run for governor. And I will say our folks, whether it's whoever does step up, they're going against the worst boss in D.C., which is Victoria Sparks. They're going against someone who votes consistently against the working Hoosier, which is Jim Banks, and someone who literally uses taxpayer dollars for his political gain, and that's Todd Rokita. So at the end of the day, like I said before with the governor's race, with the Senate race too, Democrats have a story to tell, and we're ready to take that on the road.
It's going to be a good campaign.
And Phil, he keeps bringing up Todd McDermott. Remember in his concession speech when he lost on November 8th, he said this was 14 months of waste of my time. I don't think Todd McDermott is going to be running for governor or for senator or any of these things. And I think that many Democrats are not looking at running for these because they understand that they don't have a strong shot of doing this. And it's going to be a waste of another 14 months.
Apparently Mario has a direct line to Tom McDermott.
That resonate with Hoosiers.
This week, gentlemen, the U.S. Senate approved the Respect for Marriage Act. As you very well know, Indiana senators split. Todd Young voted yes. Mike Braun voted no. Does this become a liability for Braun, Mario?
I don't think so. I don't think many people were paying attention to that bill anyway. I think that it's a states' rights issue or should have been a states' rights issue. But I don't think that anyone's really interested or believe that this is an issue in and of itself, because
okay, Drew, go ahead.
I mean, Mario, the fact that you said that is offensive on its face. I think at the end of the day, the fact enshrining marriage protections, whether it's an interracial marriage or an LGBTQ marriage, it's necessary following the overturn of Roe. And while it's not a perfect bill, it's a step in the right direction, especially for people like me. As viewers may know, I'm gay and I can't wait to get married, and I really want to be able to get married in Indiana. So it's the step in the right direction.
Mario,
And Drew,
30 seconds.
A bunch
Go ahead.
of my
Respond.
friends that are gay in Indiana have been married, and I've been to their weddings. And there's nothing
Sir,
illegal
don't do
for them
that
to get married right
BS
now.
to me. At the end of the day, calling it a states' rights issue is homophobic as hell.
As an interracial couple, my ex-wife and I, when we were married, Indiana legally authorized our marriage.
The fact that you were
the federal government
the fact that you literally are tokenizing people. I hope you're happy about that.
We'll have to take this conversation offline. Gentlemen, good to see you. Have a good rest of your week. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Yep. Cool. Bye.
And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics this week. We'll be back here, of course, next Sunday morning at 9:30. You can also find our brand new All Indiana Politics podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network over at wishtv.com. Have a great rest of your week.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.